Good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, start of a new month. It is almost spring, which I'm very excited about. I actually came into work early today because we were expecting Snowmageddon to Electric Boogaloo, but it did not happen. It is just snowing a little bit outside, but it's not even sticking to the roads, so I'm very happy about that. In Utah, this has been a record-breaking year for snow. We have, I think, broken multiple records as far as snowpack goes, the consistency of the snow, the depth of the snow. It's a great year for skiers and for our watershed. We needed it. Beside the point, though. Let's get to the stories of the day. There's a lot of interesting stories in the market and a lot I want to discuss. First one's going to be mortgages, and I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself because I am contradicting myself. So I've been reporting that mortgage rates were up, but as of today, there was a report from CNBC that mortgage rate demand drops to 28-year low, down 6% from last week, and 44% lower than at the same point last year. That is surprising because I kept getting reports that mortgage rates were, that mortgages were up because rates were coming slightly down because of bonds. But I guess bond market is up, so mortgage rates are up. I still maintain the fact that I think mortgages are going to drop a little bit in the third quarter, simply because they said that there are going to be regulatory changes made to home buyers, fees and structures that come with it, and so that should reduce fees. The only problem is that's going to be after the next Fed meeting, and everything is pointing to at least half a percentage point increase at the next Fed meeting. So it's going to be kind of an even split. They may reduce your fees, but your mortgage rate is going to be higher. I do believe this because just locally, I'm looking at a new home. I was hoping to upgrade this year, and I am seeing that home prices have come down. They're at least not increasing, and they're becoming more manageable. I'm seeing that homes aren't moving as much in the area, and so I think the next step is prices are going to start coming down, because I've seen for sale signs standing on the same exact property for going on weeks or months at this point. So that's what mortgages are doing. Next, let's move on to Eli Lilly. This is a very interesting story. It gets a little political, but Eli Lilly said that they are going to cap insulin prices at $35, and that's for everyone that's insured. At the same time, they also have a program for non-insured patients through specialty pharmacies, where non-insured patients can also get insulin for $35. This is kind of amazing news. This is fantastic news. Insulin has been a pressure point for a lot of people for a lot of years because its price has continually increased. It's a necessary medication. It's a life-saving medication, and it's been a constant problem. Here's where it gets political. So partly, I think we have to give this to Biden. I'm actually not anti-Biden. I'm not necessarily pro-Trump either. I don't get too political simply because I think all of them are garbage. But I think this is definitely a win for a Biden administration, because part of the Inflation Reduction Act was capping the price of insulin for Medicare and Medicaid patients. Actually, don't quote me on the Medicaid, but Medicare for sure. So Medicare was capped at $35 for all seniors on taking insulin. So there was also further pressure from the Biden administration to do that for the private sector. He's talked about it multiple times. He brought it up at the State of the Union address, and it was very well received from both the left and the right. He had actually a very good State of the Union. Despite what criticisms they may have, he had a very strong State of the Union address, made a lot of good points, and this could be part of it. We don't know what kind of back pressure is happening in these channels, but this is definitely a win for his administration, and I don't think you can take that away from him, no matter how cynical or anti-Biden you are. The only downside is Eli Lilly is not the largest supplier of insulin. I think they're only the third or the fourth largest. Only about 3 in 10 Americans get their insulin from Eli Lilly, but it's still definitely a victory for people that are on insulin. So I think that's great news. Next story is about Kohl's. So this kind of furthers back to retail. We know retail has been shaky. Kohl's has posted low holiday sales. So we've had issues with sales from multiple companies, Home Depot, Target, and now Kohl's as well, and Walmart, of course, all showing that consumer spending in retail is down. So this is just another indicator of that. I still maintain what I'm saying. I think this is transitory. Now I sound like a Fed chair, but I think this is transitory. I don't think this is consistent. I think market is still strong. People's savings are still strong. There's still a lot of spending in the market. I think just how they're spending it is changing. The next story is about AI, our new favorite subject. So Qualcomm, another company that's thrown their hat into the ring. I guess that's always been in there. We just haven't talked about it. But what's interesting to me is that I think this story also plays to the fact that Intel is so far behind everybody else, which is funny because it's amazing how quickly it's happened. Just a few years ago, you could not imagine Intel being toppled. And now it is just being torn apart, and its sales are showing it. So Qualcomm does also make chips for AI. They're going to be focusing apparently on smartphones and mobile devices, which is something we talked about in a previous video. It's going to be interesting when AI comes to smartphones in a way that it hasn't yet. And they demonstrated a speech-to-text option using AI on an Android device at a recent meeting, and apparently it worked flawlessly. So they're going to be integrating heavily into mobile devices and into smartphones and mobile appliances. So we'll see what that plays out to be. I do think it's interesting because I know that AI is incredibly energy heavy. Recently on a previous video, we talked about how ChatGPT, it costs multiple cents. They weren't specific about how much, but at least a couple cents for every search, transaction, question, whatever you call it, query. It costs a couple cents in energy because it's such an energy intensive procedure. So I don't know how that's going to work on a mobile device. I guess everything could be just cloud based, and the question is just sent out into the cloud and immediately returned. Essentially, that's what happens right now with PCs, right? I mean, it's not like my PC is running more power when I'm asking it questions through ChatGPT. It's all entirely happening on the cloud. But we'll see what that plays into. I think it's a very interesting news, and I think it's very good news for AI in general, and I think terrible news for Intel. Next story is Delta pilots just negotiated a new contract for themselves that includes a 34% raise. That's pretty massive. United and Southwest are still in negotiation, but Delta has finalized the terms, so they're going to get a 34% raise. It's going to be 18% immediately, and then it's going to be raised, I believe, 4 or 5% every year for the next 3 to 4 years, meaning that 34% in total. That's a pretty amazing news. That's a major boost. This does probably also mean that our travel costs are going to increase because they're not just going to give us free stuff. They're going to pass that cost on to the consumer, but still good news for pilots. But also that does play into the fact, again, labor is in shortage, and we're going to continue to see labor shortages. Last story is MSC, which is a company I had not heard about previously. So MSC is actually the world's biggest shipping company. So they're mostly functioning in container shipping, in freight shipping, and international shipping. They're seeing strong growth and an increased growth into the second half of 2023. They think that 2023 is actually going to be a very strong year for shipping and for global growth. These guys are kind of a major indicator simply because they ship internationally. They ship in and out of China. They ship in and out of Europe and in and out of the United States. So these guys essentially are the barometer of what the economy is doing. My only issue with the story after reading it was that they didn't give concise data on why they think that. They've seen an increase in shipping out of China post the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, but that is mostly on track with what you would expect with China just reopening post-COVID and coming into a new year. They didn't give concrete data on why they believe 2023 is going to be so strong. I do believe them. I think it is going to proceed. I think that especially with the supply chain being so backlogged, there's a lot of room for growth. But I was a little upset with the article that it didn't give concrete data and show actual analytics of why they see it and where they see it going. That's it. That's the last story of the day. I'm going to be finishing up here. Got to get back to work. I already see my phone text messages coming in and emails coming in I got to respond to. I hope you guys set amazing goals. I hope you meet those goals, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.